Hello. Let me just say before I start ranting, I doubt that most of you guys won't listen to this throughout, which is a shame, because what is actually going on right now in this world is far, far from normal, and it's bloody terrifying if you're paying attention. I speak to quite a few people, mostly strangers, and when I mention the WEF, World Economic Forum, or Klaus Schwab, or Davos, they haven't got a clue what you're talking about. Not a clue, because most people watch mainstream media, and you're not going to see it on the mainstream media. And mainstream media is manipulated by liberal or left liberal dogma, and that's a fact worth pondering, trust me. I totally lost my faith with mainstream media, and the BBC especially, because it is full of indoctrinated lefty liberals like Gary Lineker. Great footballer, but got infected by the Beeb, or should I say infected by his tremendous salary. So in my humble opinion, he has no principles. His world is just driven by greed, like so many other people. And mainstream media lies do not necessarily come from what they report, but what they don't report. Withholding critical information is actually worse than lies. So I tend to keep away from these clearly manipulated institutions. I get most of my news from individual journalists on YouTube, even though YouTube has stringent rules and algorithms that search for dissent, or what they think is dissent. So I have to choose my words very carefully. I've already had 2 strikes, and a third will be a total ban for good. So I will choose my words as best I can, but I will say what I want to say. And people will say, well, how do you know that the news from these individual journalists are true? Well, the difference between the mainstream media and YouTube journalists, YouTube can be commented on or even argued against. If anyone reports fake news or repeats propaganda, then they are very soon told about it in no uncertain terms, unlike the mainstream media, who have no such restraints at all. I'll leave a short list of my favourite people on YouTube in this video, in the descriptions to this video. That's the little chevron on the right in the corner. Click on that and it'll take you there. And you may be surprised by open journalism and honesty, but be very, very careful, because Julian Assange is still in jail for reporting the truth. Now, in my humble opinion, not just my opinion, but quite a few others, 2023 is going to bring massive changes in the West, and no one is really sure which way it will go. But if you look around you, there are demonstrations everywhere, but once again not reported on mainstream media. France, Holland, Italy, Germany, and half the population of the Czech Republic are on the streets rebelling against the Green Lobby and the confiscation of farmland. I think 2023 will see some great changes globally, and I'm pretty sure quite a few governments will either fall or change in the West. And right at this moment today, Swedish people are voting. And I think the Swedish government may be about to change right now as I speak, but we'll know for sure by Wednesday. Western policies all over Europe, all over the West, are printing money. And that is a very, very serious, it all adds to massive, massive inflation. And we seem to be on the road to Weimar, which was a little town in Germany in the 1930s where ultra-inflation was rampant. And this will happen in Europe now if we don't sort things out very, very quickly indeed. In 2020, at the World Economic Forum in Davos, the forum's founder, Klaus Schwab, and the Prince of Wales, as he was then, proclaimed a new course for humanity, the Great Reset. The plan, according to the Prince of Wales, consists of 5 points. Number 1, to capture the imagination and will of humanity. Change will only happen if people really want it. This is very true, but people will only tolerate so much and won't be bullied into anything. Item 2, the economic recovery must put the world on the path of sustainable employment, livelihood and growth. Fair enough. Long-standing incentive structures that have perverse effects on our planetary environment and nature herself must be reinvented. Who the hell do they think they are? Are they going to reinvent nature? Do they think they're God? Yeah, they do. They really do. Item 3. Systems and pathways must be redesigned to advance net zero transitions globally. Carbon pricing can provide a critical pathway to a sustainable market. Okay, zero emissions of CO2 is impossible. And the results of this so-called green energy deal is a calamity and why we are where we are today. It's that simple. Here in England, we haven't built a nuclear power station for 27 years. We have vast quantities of gas in shale and 300 years worth of coal underground, which can be burned with catalytic converters. Achieving zero carbon here in Europe won't save the world because India and China have thousands of coal-powered power stations burning inferior brown coal that burns with many pollutants, not only CO2. Now, while we ordinary people have to adhere to these rules, the elites still run around in their private jets. Now, both Boris, the clown, and Liz Truss went to Balmoral to meet the Queen, and they travelled in 2 separate private jets. That will give you some idea of what the elites have in store. One rule for them and one for us. Item 4. Science, technology and innovation need reinvigorating. That is absolutely true, but we can't be limited to windmills and solar panels. Common sense needs to prevail, and common sense today is as rare as chicken's teeth. Item 5. Investments must be rebalanced. Accelerating green investments can offer job opportunities in green energy, the circular and bioeconomy, ecotourism, and green public infrastructure. The theory is based on yet another theory, the limits of growth, according to which the overpopulation of the planet has reached a critical point, which implies the need to reduce the birth rate. Okay, let's take a little 1 point, ecotourism. What does that mean? It means the elite will be able to go on their holidays and you won't. Simple. Reduced birth rates means eugenics, and I'm sure you know what that means. A superior race. Mr. Hitler had that idea and his band of merry men. Didn't work out too well, did it? The Club of Rome, if you don't know already, are a bunch of intellectuals who assume superiority over everyone else. So, back to eugenics. And that fifth idea is just dead in the water. It's not going to happen. Now, Charles III needs to distance himself from this folly because his loony ideas threaten the very existence of the royal family and, more importantly, the whole world. The liberal left, who are equally loony, would love the fall of the monarchy, so you'd only be swapping one lunatic for another. At least the king is, by the rules of their own rules, the king is politically neutered. We can only hope that is true, but don't hold your breath. The Great Reset began with the new leader of America, without naming names. World leaders, heads of major corporations, big tech, big data, big finance, etc., etc., all came together and mobilised to defeat their opponents, mostly in the East, and then the introduction of internet censorship and the manipulation of the mail-in vote, which just doesn't it happens all over the world actually, and including England. And then we had the cancel culture, shadow banning, fact-checking in social media, and banning everything that is not acceptable to the liberal left. This has left us in a world of turmoil and dispute. People on the street protesting but not being reported by the mainstream media. We are being controlled. But most people do not have a clue. And that's the real frightening thing. God help us come back to a world where people want to work and keep their sovereignty and national status. It's very important. I don't want to be part of a global non-entity. I want to visit other nations and respect their cultures and maybe share historical backgrounds. And when visiting foreign countries, I believe in the old adage, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Remember, you're just a guest, exactly the same as visiting someone's house. Respect is essential. And I certainly don't respect you for what you got or your status. We are all born equal. Sadly, some grow up to have delusions of superiority. The elite. The Great Reset, or the other term was Build Back Better, has been coming for years and has mostly been unnoticed apart from a few tuts and groans from the general public. Oh, that's not right. We shouldn't have to stand for that. No, we shouldn't do that and they shouldn't do that. But no one does anything about it. And we've been hit by identity politics. What is that? BLM, basically, which has caused more division than there ever was before. Then come along gender politics, which in my view is all about destroying the family, and religion too. Even people in high places have been afraid to define a woman for fear of upsetting the liberal left. Well, I've got news for them. We are all born of a woman, each and every one of us, unless I'm missing something here. Of course, if you delve into all this, it's purely the liberal left who are responsible for all of this. They don't want you to have individual thoughts. You must obey their dogma and follow like sheep because they are the new elite. Just look back over the last 3 years and see what's happening. You've been conditioned to obey without question. What can we do? Pay more attention to what is really going on and discuss it with your friends while you still can. Just ponder this idea. If we had social media during World War II, we most certainly would have lost the war because of internet bots. And if you haven't heard of internet bots, look it up. There are thousands and thousands of them online. Made up characters on social media having opinions that aren't opinions, they just want to oppose yours. And I'll leave you with that little thought. And thank you for listening, and stay till the end. Bye-bye.